Hi guys, welcome back to another episode of Bloodbath.TACTIcs. This is a special one. We got our guest here, JP from Edmonton, also known as Garviel.studios. Garviel.studios. We're going to be here talking about a tournament coming up here in September for a charity event. There's also a bunch of donations on armies and the prize packs. He works really closely with Fenris Workshops as well. JP, how you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me, man. I really appreciate that.
Yeah, of course, man. We met
GameCon, was it?
GameCon.
Yeah.
GameCon a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
Just happenstance at, what was that place called? Like the Calgary Whiskey? No, it was on Calgary Avenue, but it's a bar whiskey spot or?
No, it was the Bothy Wine and Whiskey.
Bothy Wine and Whiskey.
Yeah, my buddy Chris is owning the bar, and then it's a beautiful place, like one of the best places in Edmonton to get like the widest selection of scotch. So shout out to these guys. 100%.
Yeah. Really, really cool. And very small room, but great food selection. Like it was kind of that, again, it felt like fine dining. We kind of felt like a really, really good spot. I enjoyed the special today, which was that pasta.
Yeah. Every single like meal of the day that I've been there were fantastic.
Yeah.
Like they know what they're doing. Like that's, and like selection of scotch is like I said, the best in the city in Edmonton.
Well, their kitchen it's smaller than mine.
Very small, but
it's smaller than mine, right?
Considering it's small, the amount of quality of food that comes out of this bar is fantastic.
Yeah,
it's good. It's good. I'm glad you guys enjoyed it because that's my favorite spot. That's why I met my wife, actually.
Really?
Yeah, that's where we went for our first date.
Oh, hey! How long has that place been open for?
A long time. They used to have two locations in Edmonton.
Okay.
Yeah, they had one on Jasper and then the one on Cal Trail. It's been going on for a long time, like really before my time here, and I've been here for almost 10 years now.
Yeah.
So,
well, and it was also fun too that day because we were also watching the Edmonton Oilers game in the background, and that's when they won 8-1. I think at one point we just all stopped watching because it was just a gong show.
It was just a massacre.
Yeah, like why even watch it? Like we were just, what are we doing here?
Yeah. These guys are winning. We're good.
But furthermore, we've been doing a little bit of segments here about. I really want to showcase the community and what the amazing people we have in this community of Warhammer. I find, I came from all sorts of nerd games like Magic the Gathering was a big one for me.
D&D
back in
the day. Yep.
I don't think I've ever met such like-minded, generous, salt of the earth type of people.
Yep. Besides
the Warhammer community.
Agreed, 100%. Like especially like later on, like I was mentioning earlier, like in this time in our lives, like I'm 45. Like I'm married now. I'm retired from the military. Where do I meet good dudes? I don't go to bars anymore. Really, like it's really rare. So to be able to find those like-minded, salt of the earth kind of guys was such a blessing. I got back into the hobby in 2019, I guess, when I got out of the army, and I needed like an outlet just to deal with all the stuff that I've been through. And I remember that as a kid, like when I was like 15 years old, I started painting minis. And my first thing I ever painted was like the Hero Quest box. Do you remember that old school, all-included Dungeon and Dragon kind of thing? You had like your wizard, your magician, your dwarf, and your elf, and then you had a bunch of skeleton orcs. I bought that kit because it was like a self-contained, full-on Dungeon & Dragon adventure on tabletop.
Sure.
That was like, and I'm from a small town, so we didn't have Games Workshop in my small town where I grew up. And that's the first thing I've ever painted. And that really like kind of opened up a new hobby for me. And then eventually with the army, I ended up going to Quebec City, and I saw the first Games Workshop there, and I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. What is this place? Like, I had no clue what it is. I have zero idea what that was. I bought like a box of Space Marine, because I thought they were cool. And I painted my first squad of Space Marine Firstborn models, like ultramarine blue, because that's what was on the box.
I mean,
like, sorry, like a Smurf.
No, I get it.
It is what it is, but that's kind of how it started. And in 2019, when I got out of the army, I needed an outlet, something just to process a lot of the things I've been through. And I remembered that I used to love painting. Not much of a gamer, but I love painting. And yeah, I started painting again, and it was very soothing and then next thing you know, you start meeting other guys, either going to the local friendly local game store or through Instagram, and here we are. Like, I met like more cool dudes in my 40s than in the past 20 years with the Army, for example.
Yeah.
So like-minded individual, like, this is key. Very, very much agreeing with this.
Yeah, I always find like with me too, painting, it's therapeutic to me. Like, it's something that you can just kind of shut off your mind. I tend to have quite of a busy mind.
Yep.
And it just shuts it off to complete that one task that I need to do. And all it is highlighting the gold, like whatever it is. But
whatever it is that day that you're working on,
complete that task, right?
Yep.
And it really, really focuses me, and I find it calming. Like, it is overwhelming when you look at your pile of shame, as everybody does, right?
Pile of potential, Cass.
Pile of potential. Gotta get those great highlights off the models.
Yes, yes, indeed.
And but then sitting down and taking that time just to do something that you love to do, and it's just for yourself at that point, and completing these small tasks, I always find that I'm much more calmer at the end of it all.
Agreed, 100%. For me, that was a big thing. Like, I was in the Army for 23 years. I joined when I was 16, and then I got medically discharged in 2019 for injuries sustained while serving. Like, I broke my back jumping out of airplanes, which sounded like a good idea at the time. It just ended up not being great. But I was still able to milk like 10 years after the injury. But at some point, I couldn't do it anymore. And it came as a recommendation from my therapist at the time. She's like, maybe you should try to find something to kind of, you're right, like you said, occupy your mind, make it less, what's the word? Like, I was pretty overwhelmed because, like, what's my life's going to be like now that I'm out of the Army? Like, I joined, I was 16 years old. My whole life was the Army. That's what I did. That was my identity. And all of a sudden, I'm not fit anymore to do that. And so I'm like, okay, I need something else. And, I started painting just to, help with my mental health. And then, like you said, like the soothing aspect of things. And then, when I paint, I don't think about my pain. I don't think about my problem. I'm just focusing on that task, like whatever it is, a squad or an army or a commission piece or whatever. And I found out that I could do this for hours on end without even feeling remotely discomfort by my injuries and stuff. So it was definitely like, it was value added to me. And then one thing led to another, and then I met some really cool dude on Instagram that, in the UK, where, it's pretty much the mothership for Games Workshop. This is where the headquarters is, Warhammer World and whatnot. And I realized that there was guys out there that they did this for a living. That's what paid their bills. And I'm like, I'm out of the Army. I'm on rehab right now, kind of retraining myself for civilian life. But because of the amount of injuries that I sustained, the disability was pretty high. And so I can't really hold a 9-to-5 job. So the studio became a thing, especially after COVID. COVID hit. Like, originally, when I got out of the Army, before I met my wife, I just wanted to become a dive instructor, move to Mexico, buy a boat, and just live off my pension.
Sure, yeah.
That sounds like it's such a good idea.
Yeah, that sounds like...
Right? Perfect life
awesome.
Right there. But then I met this amazing woman, and she's a teacher, and she was nowhere near retirement. So I had to adjust, or course correct. And the studio kind of became a thing. Obviously, at first, my wife being a teacher and coming from a very highly educated family, didn't really get the whole, like, you gonna do what now? You gonna paint little plastic soldiers for a living?
Yeah.
Right. Not on my watch, honey. And I'm like, well, I have time. Give me, because with the rehab thing, like, I had 2 years that I didn't have to worry about a paycheck or paying the bills and whatnot. And then after that, hopefully I could be retrained and start a new job. But based on my amount of disability and whatnot, the likeliness of that was pretty slim. So I was like, maybe I could do the whole, like, becoming a studio thing and maybe start a YouTube channel or a Patreon page if I get really, really good at this, and then live off of this. So I use COVID as a stepping stone to try this real hard, because all of a sudden, now my rehab is not 2 years, it's 3 years, because everything is shut down and VAC doesn't want to deal with that. So they just extended me another year. So I had like 3 years of just like, you can try whatever you want and not worry about a paycheck. I was like, this is the best opportunity to really put my head down and get really, really, really good at painting so that I can charge people good money to paint their stuff.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what happened. And eventually my wife started to see the successes and the clients started to line up and my schedule getting like super busy. She was like, all right, okay, I can see where this is happening. And next thing you know, like 4 years later, the studio pays for everything related to the hobby. So there's not even like a problem anymore from like, oh yeah, babe, I just bought a new box of like $200 worth of minis.
I came home with a bunch of boxes.
This was is this coming out of our accounts? No, it's the studio paid for it. She's like, oh, okay, that's fine then. So it was so easy to sell at that point because the success was there, and then the whole charity aspect of thing came on the radar as well around the same time, which we'll be talking about it in a bit.
Yeah.
So sure. So it was an amazing journey because it really helped with my mental health, and then I got to meet outstanding dudes, like some of my best friends now. Because I'm out of the army, like a lot of the guys stayed in and they got posted. They're not in province anymore. We stay in touch. We don't really see each other anymore because they're across the country.
Yeah.
In like Ottawa or like BC or whatever. So the hobby really allowed me to meet guys around my age, like-minded dudes that just want to hang out, have a few beers, roll some dice, or paint together. And I was like, I didn't know I needed this in my life, but here we are. I really do. It's really good.
I can't, you know, I hate to say it, but I can't see my life without it.
Agreed.
Like I literally, I don't know. This is kind of a stupid or silly statement, but like I don't even know what my life was like without it. Like, you know what I mean? Like it's been such an impact in my life lately. In the last 5 or 6 years, it's so impactful that like it's really kind of grounded me. You know, it's like. And in this time, I started it up again, and now, you know, I'm married, I have a kid, and like everything else, like it's all like my life kind of grounded itself. And I'm never gonna leave the hobby. I can't wait till I'm 80 years old and still playing Warhammer in the garage with my friends that I've been playing with for 50 years. I literally cannot wait for that.
Yes, I agree. This is, I can see that. Like obviously, I'm more of an artist. I'm more like a painter kind of thing.
Sure.
But through the hobby, I met a few dudes that I was like, you know what? I could tolerate you and play a game because, you know, like the randomness of thing, like meeting the guys I've never met before. Mm-hmm. And let's say, you know, in the community, like the community is amazing. It's one of the best communities I've ever met. But there is always that one guy who's a bit like gamey and he just wants to win. I'm like, dude, like the first rule of this whole hobby is to have fun. Mm-hmm. If you really want to win and cut corners and really like game the rules to your advantage, I'm not your guy. I don't want to play that game with you because you're not cool. So a few guys that I can, like I said, tolerate, that I know, me being an artist first, I don't know the rules. I don't have time to memorize all this. I don't have the mental capacity to do that, actually. So it's cool to have a few guys that's like, they want to play casual, and that's me. Mm-hmm. I'll never be playing big tournament and whatnot. Like that's just not my scene. But it's great that even me as an artist, primarily, I'm still welcome to certain events and stuff. And it's like, for example, like what we're going to be talking about in a bit, like last year when I run the first charity for Canada for this whole initiative, I played one game at the end of the whole event, and I played against this lad that was there since the first hour, and we were talking like, at that point we're late in the night, and I'm paired against this guy, and he has a World Eater army, which I know is a charging army. It's a melee army. I'm like, oh man, I'm gonna get smoked. And I told him, like, dude, this is my first game, tournament style. If you want to just table me and make my life miserable, I'll give you the game, but I'd like to learn. He's like, say no more. And the guy walked me through things. Like, I was trying to do stuff, and he's like, well, if you do this, I'm gonna do that, which will smoke half your army. He's like, okay, I'm gonna go back to my little drawing board, and then I have a couple guys kind of helping me out to make me feel good about it. I don't want, like, nobody likes to lose.
No,
nobody likes to lose. But these guys really walked me through the whole thing. I was like, okay, cool. Playing against guys like that any day.
Yeah.
But I also hear other stories of guys that are like super gamey, and then at the top of round 3, they're like, okay, I'm done. Like, I don't want to play anymore.
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard
because like it's not fun. Like nobody likes to lose.
And at the same time too, like I mean, I'm big in the competitive. Like I like the competitive scene a lot, and like I always have though. I really start with Magic. I kind of was traveling over the States with that too, like and go to those big ass tournaments. So it's kind of like inbred in me. So like I get it.
Yep.
But I think when I was younger, I thought that was it. This is life. Like I have to win this, and like. You know, as you grow up, you're like, that was just so stupid. Like
nobody needs this.
At the end of the day, like, yeah, I'm competitive in a way, but like, you know, many times at a tournament, we have such amazing TOs, especially in Alberta.
Yeah.
If something ever happens, we can just talk to them, and there's never going to be animosity. Like, honestly, there's been times I was like, okay, a 4 up, you're right. A 4 or 3 down, I'm right. Like, I don't care. Like, let's just get this done with.
Can we have fun?
Yeah,
that's the end of the day.
I really love the competitive side of things, and like and outthinking an opponent. I really like that part of it. And understanding my rules is a really important thing for me. But at the end of the day, I say this all the time. We have toy soldiers, and we're playing with toy soldiers. Yes. And we're just here. Like, that's the coolest thing about Warhammer.
Don't take yourself too seriously there, bud. No. Because at the end of the day, who cares? We're grown-up adult playing with little plastic soldiers.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter what happened at the end of the day. Like, we're still bros. We're still buddies and whatnot, right?
And it's 2 people on a table that we're doing a hobby that we love, and we have an opportunity to do this, and we get to share a narrative between each other. Like, man, remember that explosion that exploded this thing and exploded that thing? Like, we can do that.
We can nerd so hard, and it's great.
We can share these stories, and that all happens in a game, and it's really, really cool. That's what I love about it, because, you know, compared to Magic, when you sit across an opponent, I remember I wasn't even talking to them.
Of course
there's one guy, Atlantic City, I think I was in. Anyways, I was in front of him, and we just would like kind of giving each other sign language in a way where, okay, cool, but there's no laughing. Yeah, like your turn. No, this. Oh, hey, well, hold on, I'm gonna counter. Right, like it was like that, and then at the end of it,
it's almost like a chess game. Nobody talks.
Scoop up the cards and walk away. But every single tournament I've been in now with Warhammer, it's been like I'm hanging out with a guy, and then I get to say hi to him throughout the tournament, or like, hey, how you doing? Like, then we get to talk after. Then we see him at the next tournament. We're already buds.
Like,
it's
how'd
like
you do
that.
today? Like, how many getting you to win? And you want to know about that. Like, really, like for example, Mark.
Yeah.
Come in front of ours.
Yeah.
Like, he was in St. Albert like a couple weeks ago for a big tourney, and he cleaned house.
Oh yeah.
What a great feeling. Yeah. I was so happy. Like, I don't even play that much, but I was so happy for him that he cleaned house. Yeah. Like, dude, that's awesome. Good for you. And at the end of the day, like, it doesn't matter how good of a painter you are, of a strategist you are. If you roll ones, you die, bro.
You roll ones.
You fail your charges, you fail your hits, you fail your wounds, and it sucks. So to be coming on top at a tournament, obviously it's a good feeling, because obviously it was about luck at the end of the day, because you roll those dice. Yeah, obviously there's a bit of strategy.
Yeah, I think his list was pretty good. It countered a lot of what they were doing.
Yeah.
Because it was kind of not necessarily a meta list, but it was a little off in a way where, like, I think he ran... The only thing that's off, and I know Mark's going to be listening to this, but, you know, like, the 10 Termi break in Abaddon was the thing that was, like, the niche thing, but turned out very, very good in a particular meta, because he was ahead of the curve.
Yeah.
That's the trick, right?
Yeah.
Him doing that allowed him to get in a position where he needed to, and then his opponents were undervaluing certain
aspect of his army,
certain assets, and then he just was like, clean house.
All right, sorry, guys.
See you later, man.
I'm gonna hit you like a big hammer. Boom.
20-0, yeah, and that's what happens, right?
Yeah.
So, and I think he's at a team tournament right now, actually, as we're filming.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, I have to go see him tomorrow, because Mark is one of my. So let's talk about a little bit more like why I'm here, actually. So
let's get into the butter.
Yeah. So a little bit about myself. Like, I joined the Army when I was 16. I served for 23 years. I did 8 deployment overseas, 6 in Afghanistan, and I did a short stint with the Special Forces, and like about 4 years. Then I was a drill sergeant, and then I became a close protection operator, which, I mean, pretty much bodyguard, like a self-glorified bullet catcher for ambassadors and whatnot in Afghanistan. And then I got injured quite a bit with my many tours, and then I saw some pretty dark stuff as well while being over there. Lost a lot of friends due to combat injuries or combat actions, and also to suicide. So in 2020, when I started doing when I got out in 2019, I was like, okay, what am I going to do with myself? Like I said, the whole scuba diving thing kind of fell off. plate, if you like. And then I met this guy, Bobby Clark, from the United Kingdom. Red Eagle Studio on Instagram. Go check him out. His work is just absolutely stupid. He's so good. Anyways, Bobby was doing this charity in the UK called 40 Hours of 40K, which supports CALM, which is Campaign Against Living Miserably, which is an organization that focuses on men's mental health and suicide prevention. And right at the hop, I was like, this is speaking to me so loud, because I lost a lot of friends to suicide. I've struggled myself with suicide ideation at some point in my life. It's not something I'm proud of, but it happened. I've made peace with that, and now we're here, and I'm still alive, and I'm not going to be a statistic. So long story short, I started painting for these guys in the UK. At the time, I was not the greatest of painter, but I had a lot of time being retired from the military. So I was happy to lend my brush and my skills, and then I grew in this whole endeavor with these guys. Like, I'm talking like world-class painters here. Like, a lot of them are Golden Demon winners, Golden Demon mention finalists. The UK and Europe has one of the best painters in the world, like especially Spain and whatnot. And I really, really love the idea. However, after my second year, regardless of what money I donated to them on top of my like effort towards the goal, it is a UK only charity, and the money stays there. And I'm like, being a vet, I'm like, I would like to help my guys here, or at least in North America, because I've served with Americans, a couple tours, so I have a lot of mates in the States, and we all struggle with different aspects of our services in the armed forces. So in 2022, if I recall correctly, I decided to make the trip to the UK to be part of the actual physical charity. But in the back of my mind, I wanted to talk to the organizer and kind of pitch him an idea that has been brewing in the back of my mind throughout 2 years that I did stuff with them. So I made a trip to the UK. I ended up staying with my painting coach for like a week. He moved his kids to another room, so I had a room for myself. Like, amazing hospitality. What? Matt Cockerill, like, this guy is a legend. Cool. He was one of the painters for the UK charity in the first place. Never met the guy in my life. And I'm like, hey, I'm coming to the charity. He's like, come stay at the house. We'll move stuff around for you. I'm like, are you sure? I mean, I could rent an hotel or something. He's like, no. You're staying with us. The kid's going to love it. I'm like, okay. So I ended up staying there for like a whole week with this guy. And he's like, I can change my schedule at work. I'll start earlier, but I'll finish earlier. So I'll be able to hang out with you in the afternoon and evening. I'm like, this is grand. Thank you so much. And then I met the organizer, the guy that started the whole thing, which his name is Andrew Weller. Shout out to this dude. He is an outstanding individual, Royal Air Force guy. So I figured we could probably get along, even though he's Air Force. Ding, ding, nudge, nudge. I'm Army, so usually Air Force, Army is a big rivalry there. And I figured,
there's some kind of rivalry between the Air Force.
A little bit.
And the Navy as well. Is it the three?
Oh yeah, the Navy is like the
say it.
The retarded stepchild. Sorry guys, that is what it is. So I went in straight up to him, met him, handshake, click right away. I was like, Andrew, love what you're doing. How do you feel about me starting a sister chapter in Canada where the money stays here and helps our guys? And he's pretty much looked at me, he's like, mate, run with it. I was like, you sure? He's like, yes. I don't want to steal your brand. I was like, no. Like, the more guys we help, the better it is. Like, roger that. Did the event. It was amazing. Met some fantastic painters that were part of that. Like Broadsword Wargaming, which is a shop out of Ireland. Shout out these guys. Kira and her partner. Amazing guys as well. Went for some pint. Actually met with Bobby, Red Eagle.studios as well. Shared a room one night with him at the event, and then we talked about, like, he used to work for Warhammer, like original, like way back when, and he told me how like almost militaristic Games Workshop was ran back in the day, with like the ranks with the store guys and whatnot. He could be like a sergeant, which is like the store manager or whatever. Like, it was just, back then it was wild. Oh wow! It was like guys were being fired left, right, center because, like, if you don't make the cut, you're out. It's like, wow, okay, like, I can get behind that. I like that. So fast forward a year, I'm going back to Canada. I met like funny things, you know, like serendipity, and when things happen and it's meant to happen. Like I'm in Toronto on my way to the UK, and I'm sitting at the bar, 8 a.m. in the morning, having a Caesar, and there's a girl sitting next to me, and there's another guy right there. So, you know, like airport chat, starting to talk, like, where you guys going? What are you guys doing? She's like, oh, I'm going back home to BC. I'm going to the UK, blah, blah, blah. I'm doing this like fundraising thing for men's mental health. And she looks at me, she's like, actually, I have a friend in BC that does something like that. You might want to talk to them. I was like, can I have your contact? I'll give you a shout when I get back from the UK, and then I can talk to your friend and then see if it's a fit. She's like, absolutely. Fast forward a couple months, reach out to this girl, Mindy, and I'm like, hey, Mindy, this is JP. We met at Pearson. You said you had a guy that did like a mental health thing for dudes in BC. It's like, yeah, it's called Heads Up Guys. I'm like, all right, cool, never heard of it. I'm going to look into them. Start looking into them, and yeah, they're pretty much in line with what I wanted to do. So I reach out to them. It's like, hey, listen, I'm a vet. I'm an artist. I do this thing with Warhammer. We're looking for a charity that we can lend an effort to help them raise money about men's mental health, suicide prevention, and whatnot. Are you guys interested in like hitching your carts to us so that we can help people? Mm-hmm. They're like, 100%. So I ended up talking with our chief of operation, Josh Bahari, and then yeah, there obviously it was a fit. They agreed. I started 40 Hours of 40K Canada, and last year we had our first event, which was a roaring success, considering that I'm just a dude. I'm just a guy. I'm a French guy, like from Quebec, that lives now in Alberta, that was in the army for a long time, did some crazy stuff overseas, and now I'm retired because I'm injured and I want to paint little plastic soldiers for a living. And they were like, yep, cool. So last year we had our first event. We raised $13,000, which was crazy to me. Like our objectives was 10, and then we were doing really good. And then this ambassador for Heads Up Guys, Brad Newell, big shout out to this man. I love him to bits. He's like a pretty famous guy in BC. He's like the king of flooring. There was like big commercials in BC with this guy.
Is it like kind of like one of those commercials that have like, hey, and he's wearing like a crown or something?
Yeah,
or...
this guy. So this is Brad Newell.
Okay,
this guy, the night of the event, flew from BC and came and hang out with us for like 24 hours. Cool. Bought everybody's pizza, like, and then at the end, like we're almost like at the end of the event and we're shy a couple $100, and he just donated like a pile of cash just so that we reach our objective and made us feel good about this event. And Brad has a very special story. Like his brother committed suicide. So to him, like this whole like helping men and whatnot, like super close to his heart. And then, you know, like I said before, like I lost a lot of friends to suicide. Like and my wife met me after the army. So she got just the raw side of it. Like the trouble, the hard time sleeping, the anger spats and stuff like that. And also the phone calls. Like she said to me recently, because in May we lost one of our own, a guy that I was on course with, Jimmy Boyle, super good dude, but he was assigned to a very specific, a very delicate files with the military police, would touch a lot with child pornography and like child trafficking and whatnot, and took a toll on his personal life and on his wife and kids, and then his wife ended up leaving him, and he hanged himself. You know, that was May long weekend. That was really harsh. But Catherine looked at me when that happened, and she was like, babe, like, you get like 3 or 4 of those calls a year since I've met you. And I was like, this is why I'm doing this. This is why I want to get on every single podcast I can talk about and promote this event, because we are actually saving lives. We are helping guys getting the resources that they need. And then we're also fostering this community. Like, I thought about killing myself at some point in the last 5 years, because we were going through a lot of rough stuff with my then fiance, and then things were just like, at that point I was like, I'm just done. I had a good life. I could just end it. And then this thing came up, and I was like, and Andrew, same thing, like the guy in the UK, like we made a pledge to each other, like, we'll never be a statistic. It doesn't matter how hard it gets. I got dudes I can call. I got these buddy checks from time to time from buddies from the army, and not the army anymore. Guys that know that I have PTSD, that I have issues sometimes, that life is not always rosy, even though anybody in my position, 45 years old, retired, living his best life, quote unquote, like painting little plastic minis for a living. Like, come on, man. It's a good life. But even there's days where it doesn't feel like a good life. And I'm sure it's relatable. Even with the bar and then like the kids and the wife and whatnot. Like, life is not always rosy.
No, life is hard.
Life is hard.
It is.
And it's harder if you're stupid. So I try not to be stupid, and I try not to do these things that would like have permanent consequences for now my wife. It used to be just me. It would have been easy just to do it back then. But now I have a wife. We have dogs. We have friends. And I have this charity thing now that I absolutely devoted. Like, it almost become like a full-time job half the year now. Managing 25 artists, coming up with like the painting scheme, pick up like a good army that people would want to win. People would want to, you know, like the charity in itself, like, yeah, there's like, you know, the regular registration fees for like a tournament. Like this year's gonna be like, you know, $50. We have like custom made dice now.
$50 is a fine price.
It is. It is a sweet. It's not breaking the bank.
No,
right?
no. Most tournaments can be like 75 to 100, right? Like,
agreed, right?
Yeah.
And maybe one day we'll be that if we become big enough and we need to take care of the overheads. But right now it's all me fronting everything, and I'm okay because I'm in a position that I can do that, and I love doing that. So we got some custom made dice. We got some custom made objective markers. We got a nice rad swag bags for the registration now. So we're making this thing even more legit than it needs to be because we want the community to be excited about this event. It's once a year. We want this to be like big. We want this to be like getting a bunch of dudes. Like, my 5-year vision was to be like, I want this to become like a mini LVO for Canada, which is, we don't really have that. We don't have like a big tourney where we can do hotel blocks, vendors are coming in, famous people are coming in, either like as like keynote speakers or teaching classes, like the Andy Wardles of the world, and then the, you know, all these like the Duncan Rose and all like the Mamicons and Maniacs and all these like, you know, Ninjon and all these guys that we all love to watch on YouTube.
Yeah.
Maybe one day they want to come and check us out. Be like, well, these guys, like, they started out of nowhere, like me in my basement building minis, and I had a vision, I had a dream to be able to help out guys and girls, because obviously, like 40 Hours 40K, right now we're associated with Heads Up Guys, which strictly helps out men's mental health. But our grand vision, and we're working towards that at this time, is to become an actual registered charity or a foundation of some sorts, where we have multiple arms, where we have the 40 Hours 40K, and we have like an AOS style tournament, but it for first responders. Everybody, like cops, fires, medics, nurses, military, dudes and girls, doesn't matter. Like, both genders are welcome. You know, right now it's only men's because I'm a man, and, you know, I've struggled with mental health and I've lost a lot of dudes. So obviously that was a big thing for me.
What's the core? It's where it started from. If you're going to be leading the cause, it's going to be.
But I don't want to beg myself in a corner where it's like, it's only for dudes and it's only 40K. How about an umbrella foundation kind of thing that has multiple legs? And we can do a thing that is specifically for the cops, or specifically for the like Dayton Aubrey, like a guy out of BC, like the BC Battle Brothers. They've been painting for us. These guys are AOS through and through. For the last 2 years, they've been painting 40K just to help us out. And I've been painting AOS for them just to help them out, because they raise money for muscular sclerosis, MS. No, not MS, MD. Muscular dystrophy. Okay. That's their big thing. It's Sparrow Fire Hall, like the Sparrow BC, their fire hall. That's what they do, right? So they do the 5-alarm GT thing every year, and this year we did a big Gargant army, which I've never painted these big, huge minis, and it was a freaking absolute pleasure to paint, because it's all airbrush mostly, and then you picked up the thing, so you could do a little super tight skin tone with the airbrush, and it turned out beautifully. And the funniest thing is that somebody in BC won the army, and then Lane from TAPS, which is where we're going to be hosting our event this year, reached out to this guy and bought it off him so he can repatriate it back to Edmonton, because he donated most of the models. He was like, I wanted that, and I wanted a big, cool, professionally painted army. And so he ended up reaching out to the guys like, I don't know how much he paid for it. It was like, I'll give you X amount of money. Can you send it back to me? And he was like,
sure.
Guy was like, sure.
Cool.
Yeah, so cool. Like,
wow.
So now this army is back in Edmonton.
Yeah.
Where it belongs, really. In my opinion.
Yeah. But look how much funds it generated. Right?
It's crazy.
Right? Like it raised all that money, and then it also got raised even more funds for this guy, too.
Yes,
yeah.
100%. So it really helped everybody. It's beautifully painted army. And same with last year. Like last year, our first event was Arc Army. And it was a beautifully painted Arc Army. Like the first year that I started, which was last year, I was like, okay, I'm just me. I'm nobody. I don't have that much of a follower on Instagram. Like I don't have a YouTube channel or anything like that. But I didn't want to do that alone. And I went with like the UK model. And I was like, okay, I just legitly just did a call to arms on Instagram. I was like, I am looking for motivated, talented artists that want to raise money for men's mental health, suicide prevention. Mm-hmm. Who's with me? And out of the woodwork, random dudes just showed up. And they're like, I want to help. And I look up their Instagram posts and was like, you know what? It's actually pretty good. All right, it's cool. And then I remember this one guy, James Craig. Big shout out to you, brother. I love you to peace as well. He's a multiple Golden Demon winner out of Trenton, Ontario. I think the dude has 12 Golden Demons. And for those not familiar, the Golden Demon is like the Oscar of our industry. You win one of those, you're published. You're famous. People know your name because you won a big award.
Yeah, when it comes to this thing. It's not an easy task.
It is not an easy task. It is absolutely a monumental task to undertake. Most guys that do submit multiple entries or like an entry or multiple entries to Golden Demons, it's months and months, even year of work for these guys. So I reached out I pretty much cold called Greg, Mr. Greg, and I was like, dude, and he's in Trenton, so I was like, okay, he's familiar with the Army because this is our big strategic air assets. It's all in Trenton. This is where you do your jump course and whatnot. Been there, done that. And so I reached out to him. I was like, listen, man, I don't know you. I've been following you for many years. You're a very talented painter. Would you be willing to lend your skills and brush and your viewership, really? I was looking for that as well. Some viewership, some guys that actually has followers so that we can spread the word even more.
Yeah.
And James was like, you know what? I used to be involved with Nova Open quite a bit. Big shout out Nova Open as well. Like these guys have been like rooting in our corners since day one. Whatever I post, they post it back. Like I don't know these guys. I've never been to their event, but they all about the support of the community. Talking about how the community is great.
Yeah.
Prime example, Nova Open. Never been to their event. Never really talked to them personally per se, but we had a short conversation over social media. And ever since that day, I post their stuff, they post my stuff. Everybody helps. And then James Gregg turns around and then, because he's a multiple Golden Demon winner, he knows all these like fantastic painters like Jonathan O, Guillaume Junot, and a bunch of like Dragomir and all these guys. I'm like, do you mind like assembling like an A team for me? He was like,
okay,
yeah,
really,
I'm gonna do this.
Wow.
And they've been my A team for like 2 years now.
Okay.
And then we even got like last year, last minute, we had this guy from the state, Chris Borer. I think his Instagram is Full Bore Miniature. This dude has 22 Golden Demons.
22.
Yes. So, you know, like I'm Bush League compared to this guy. But he sent us like a really cool little grot tank that he did for the Army last year. That was like freaking stunning. Just absolutely gorgeous. Too. And this year he did like a Primaris Psyker for us. But obviously he had to put his twist to it and then did some green stuff, like reshape and then kind of resculpt the model. I just got it last week. Oh, just ridiculously good. So now I have all these like super heavy hitters on our team, plus a bunch of like solid dudes from like Lethbridge, BC. I have like 25 artists from BC to Nova Scotia. We got 2 guys in the States now, guys in the UK. Last year we had a Dutch guy, Joffrey. This year he couldn't join us. He was moving houses and getting divorced and whatnot. So like I was okay with him not helping us this year, but I know next year he's gonna be there.
Sure.
The guy is phenomenal artist. And my wife is Dutch. I was like, hey, we have a Dutch guy on the team. It's like, oh great. Tell him yabba dabba doo in Dutch to him.
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, okay, I'll do
Ootsia,
that.
I don't know.
Ootsia.
I don't know.
I'm thinking like Austin Power gold members.
Yeah,
like,
yeah. Ooh, I like gold. Yeah.
Gold. Yeah, so make kind of fun of that. So wicked team, and then this year Taps donated all the models, so I was able to get my other sponsors like Red Claw, Industrial Park Games, obviously Fenris. Big shout out, Gabriel. This guy's been in my corner since almost day one, and then he wants to see this grow. He wants to see this becoming that whole foundation thing. Like, you met him at GameCon, like super solid dude.
Super solid.
He ended up staying at the house for a couple days, borrowed my truck for like a week or so, just to tour around Alberta. I was like, car rentals are stupid.
Yeah.
We have two vehicles. I don't need my truck. You can have my truck.
Yeah.
It's like, you sure? It's like, dude. He ended up giving me like a bunch of crude stuff for free as a
cool
payment. It's like,
Yeah.
yes. He's like, you have all the crude stuff. I was like, yes, I do. My wife's like, you're such a nerd. It's like, we're alpha nerds, babe. We make the nerds look good.
Yeah.
This is what we do.
This is what we do. Seriously.
So Gabriel's all over it, helping out, donated like a lot of good stuff this year. Chronicle Cards, the guys were at GameCom as well, donated us like a bunch of like paint sets, like their brushes, their tiger brushes and their wolf bristle brushes, which is fantastic. So more
Wolf
price.
bristle brushes.
Yeah, man. Ethically sourced wolf bristle from Australia.
Okay, so what makes that so what makes that so good?
I mean, it's just usually it's like Kolinsky, right? So it's squirrel hair.
Okay.
But having like different type of hair just makes the brush like work differently with different medium. I mean, I know that their tiger. I haven't tried a tiger wolf bristle yet, but they have obviously their Kolinsky, which is like the squirrel thing. But the wolf one, they're good brushes. They're like comparable to, I want to say, Pro Acryl, Bumwicks, or like some of the new range of Valeos. Valeos completely revamped their brushes. Now they're actually good brushes. So same thing. They're good middle range brushes that are not super expensive.
Okay.
Which is a big thing, right? Because you look at, for example, like Rosemary & Co. Rosemary & Co. is one of the biggest producer of brushes. Like Artis Opus, for example, they're Rosemary brushes, really. They're made in the UK. They just rebrand them and charge premium.
Okay.
It's the exact same brushes. The same Kolinsky kind of hair. So having a middle range athlete, if you don't want to pay like, $20 a brush, you can go with this brand and you can get like a good bundle for, I don't know, 50, 60 euros or whatever they charge, or like Australian dollars, and which is almost par with us. So you can get a good set of brushes for under $100.
And you find that, like, you use a commission painter. Like, how often are you changing your brushes?
Usually, I want to say, because I paint like usually 8 hours a day, 5 days a week. Every couple months, I have to change my brushes.
That's pretty good, actually, for that amount of painting.
For me, like, some guys like, oh, I have my brushes like a year. I'm like, well, good for you, man. You paint like 40 hours a year.
Yeah.
I paint 40 hours a week. My brushes don't last that long, and I take really good care of my brushes. I use a good soap product.
And you have the paint cleaners or the brush cleaners.
Of course, I got the whole 9 yards, like the soap, the thing, and that. And because the volume is so high, I go through a lot of brushes, and I like to try them all. Like, obviously, I don't buy Games Workshop because they're overpriced and they're not that great, right? And then Rosemary & Co. is my workhorse brushes. Fenris carries them now, so he always kind of send me. He does like supply drops for his affiliate members, so I always get a couple brushes for free a year for them, and then whenever I need more, I'll just order like a brick of them.
Yeah. That way you can just keep going.
Yeah, I just keep going, and never like. Plus, I'm a studio. I'm a small business owner, like veteran owned, operated kind of thing. So I'm able to write those off. So I don't really care. I do take care of them. Yeah. But like if I need to buy like a couple $100 worth of brushes a year, so be it. Yeah, that's the cost of doing business.
Yeah.
Same with the paint. Same with the airbrush stuff. Like the primers and the cleaners and whatnot. So it's.
What kind of airbrush do you use?
I have Pro Acryl had a really good pistol grip one.
Yeah.
That I do mostly my basing with when I prime the stuff, and Maple Airbrush Supplies, which is a big airbrush store in Edmonton. They carry like Takumi, which is Iwata company, but they're really, really good. They have like that nice fat trigger. So that's my main super detailed airbrush. And then I have also a Ardern Steenbeck, which is good German product for like super line work.
Really?
Like I have like a .2 on that one. It's like really like when I want to do like makeup and stuff, like really close stuff, like for shadows for the face, and then like some highlights and whatnot. So I'm running about like a 3 to 4 gun setup. I have a big my original one, my original one, like super fat needle. I use this to do the varnish because it's easy to take apart. It's a big fat needle, big fat channel, easy to clean with like a the medium for varnishes has a tendency to, if you don't clean it well enough, it sees and it's really hard to clean.
It just cakes over.
So if it's a bigger hole, like a 5 or a 7 needle, then it's a lot easier to do, and it has a big spread volume, right?
Cool.
So I run 4 hairbrushes.
And what about using, just for people who are trying to get an airbrush, because it's actually really, really easy. I want to put out there, I mean, to get pro at it, it's hard, but it's really easy to get into, but it is daunting to look at.
You know what? When I bought my airbrush setup, I'm not gonna lie, it took me a couple months to even try it. Because I was scared.
The same way. I was the same way.
I was scared shitless of that.
Yeah,
thing.
Man.
Because I was like, okay, and especially at first when you start figuring out like what's the right dilution, because dilution is key with the airbrush, right? You don't want it to clog, you don't want it to spit. You want to make sure you have the right amount of hair pressure to get that smooth coverage, so it doesn't get pooly or spotty,
or it starts pushing the water away because it was too much,
like
right?
spider effects because it's too diluted. So it took me a few months to find that super sweet. Now, like, I can airbrush all day without having to clean it. At first, I was airbrushing for like 10 minutes and all of a sudden it's clogged. Yeah. And I'm like, what am I doing wrong, for the love of God? And then, I start talking to some guys and then start to exchange a few ideas and whatnot. And then, and now I'm like, bang on. Like, it's super easy now. But like, I've also been doing this almost 5 years non-stop, right? So it become like second nature now. But there's days where I have bad days where like, I guess I was too quick on the mixing, and it obviously doesn't have enough, and then I just add a little more thinner, and then boom.
Yeah, you figure it out.
It's easy to figure out.
So now. on a like, just for the people maybe trying to get into it, like what's the basic mixture? What would you always say? Like if you did like say 3 drops paint, 1 drop dilution.
Yeah, I'd say 5 to 1.
5 to 1.
5 to 1 is my ratio, but I'm eyeballing it more than anything now, right? Because I want what they say, like the famous YouTubers, what they say is like, it has to be the consistency of skim milk. Okay, what if I'm lactose intolerant and I don't drink milk? Okay, well, there you go. So you want it to be able to like flow. You can shake your cup, and if you see it going up and then kind of back down without leaving like it's pretty quick. Yeah. In the cup, when it swirls, you're about there. Okay. But like a 5 to 1 ratio seems to be a good thing. I eyeball it now because I do this full time, so it's easier. I know exactly kind of what I want. But again, if you want, it's different. If you want to do just like a priming job, who cares? Yeah, roughly. Let's go. But then when you start doing like shade and saturation, and you start using the ink to do the OSL or whatnot, well, that's a bit different now. You need a bit more flow improver, a bit more thinner, so that you can get not like a blotty spot and more like that nice gradient for an OSL, for example, like a flashlight or a flame, right? So a bit different now than if you just do like primary color or just priming of black or white or gray. Sure. Right? So 5 to 1 seems to be a good ratio to me. It has served me well, so I keep doing that. Okay, cool. Yeah. Now let's circle back here to that 40 hours and 40K in 40 hours. Yeah. So yeah, the event is called 40 hours 40K because the guys are rolling dice for 40 hours straight. Yeah. All right, and then throughout the event. Now it's people interchanging. It's not just one person doing. No, obviously hours. We like last year we had 8 tables. This year we have 16. So now we've doubled in size. It's 40 hours, so it's 10 slots of 4 hours basically, which is roughly a game. Yeah. Right. Roughly It gives
a game is fine as 4 hours.
Yeah, 4 to 5 hours. Like some guys can do it quicker. Like some guys finish in three and a half, and then it still give them like about 30 minutes to recock, rejig, move to the next table, and carry on. Right? It's a BCP type event, so captain runs his team kind of deal, and then he makes sure that the right people are there for their slots a lot of the time. Like I don't hold people's hand. If you're not showing up, well, you just lost that game. Like,
yeah.
I'm sorry. Like I don't have time to manage all you guys'. If we have, let's say, we're shooting for about 150 registration this year, so that's maybe like a dozen team with 5 to 10 dudes.
Yeah,
is roughly what we're looking for. Okay. So 150 to 200 players, and yeah, the guys are rolling dice for 40 hours straight. It's wild. Like last year, I was up for 50 some odd hours. Message to my wife, I'm not doing that this year. I promised I wouldn't do that because they really took its toll on me. Physically.
Yeah.
Because the concrete floor, shitty chairs, hurt. It took me 2 months to recover from that.
Oh, and no sleep, man.
Like physically.
Yeah.
Like I was hurting so much. So this year, it's taps. I'm south side. It's closer. So I'm probably going to be there until midnight, go home, rest for like 6 or 7 hours, back bright and early with some coffee and
yeah. You gotta get sleep,
sticky buns and whatnot for the boys. But there's guys that were there for the whole time, and I think this year I want to kind of make like a special mention or a special trophies or something for the guys that are there for the whole time. I physically can't do it. Like my health does not allow it anymore. But there's some young lads out there that can do it, and I really encourage these guys to do that because it creates that big bonding. Like we were there that first year, we're there the whole time. There's only a few of us. Good. I want that.
Yeah, we never left.
Like, that exclusivity, a little bit like a elitist. Like same with the dice. We got some custom made dice this year. Very cool. Baron of Dice. Once again, big shout out to these guys. They give us a good discount. And Steven is a good dude. He's a kind of one-man operation. He's the one casting the dice, and he put our logo on it. It looks fantastic. This year they're red and gold with some marble in it. Next year is going to be a different color. Because I want guys to be able to collect those, be like, hey, I was there the first year, and then kind of do like a thing. So like 5 years from now, when we're still running and we became like an actual full-fledged charity, guys can show up, be like, hey, I was there, and then we can give them like something special to be like long-lasting supporters. Give them like a mug or something with their name on it, just to make them feel special.
Yeah. Because
it's all about like the one thing I realized with Warhammer is like the FOMO is real. The fear of missing out, these limited releases and whatnot. So that's definitely something that Games Workshop and all these companies that do those games monetize them.
Oh, for
Why
sure.
can't we?
Yeah, I mean,
why can't make this like this little exclusive thing that if you show up 1 year, like let's say our 5th year anniversary, you show up like with one dice of every year that prove that you were there every time, and you show up with your little tray thing, you have like 5 different dice color, you get a badge, you get a coin, you get something. Obviously coming from the military, I would like to get like coins for the guys.
Or rankings. Like you made it to the rank of your captain now.
Yes.
Because you had X amount.
Yes.
That's cool.
That's cool. Not necessarily like an XP.
Or Emperor. Your Emperor status.
Yeah, like a Primarch level.
Yeah, Primarch level.
Yeah, something Warhammer-esque or something like the gaming aspect of things. And this is my vision. This is what I want. I want this to become like a fun thing that dads can bring their kids eventually. Like introduce their daughters and sons to this, and then see how positive and reinforcing the community is. Like I don't look down on anybody. I don't care where you come from. I don't care what race or creed you are. Like, are you a good person?
That's it.
Do you want to roll dice with us? Come on down, buddy. We'll do that. It's gonna be great. It's gonna be a good time.
And when is this event?
So this year it's gonna be 6, 7, 8 of September. Just so right after long weekend. It's gonna be at Taps in Edmonton. They just expanded. They just expanded now. They got double square footage. Like I said, 16 tables. We'll have a whole corner for the artist in you. So I'll be running some paint and take. So I'll have Games Workshop donated a bunch of like Space Marine and Furnace and the Stormcast Eternal from GameCon. They gave it back to me because I was the guy that built like 800 of those in 4 days with my wife and a couple friends for GameCon because... Sorry to point it out, guys, but you dropped the ball on that one, and I saved the day. And so they're like, okay, we feel bad. This guy really pulled out full shift. let's give him back the paint and the bottles and the brushes. So
Okay.
I ended up getting all that back, which I will use for the charity.
Yeah.
And that's what they said. You can use it for the charity. So we'll do some paint and takes. I'll be coaching people to paint better, paint faster kind of deal. So that's going to be obviously my niche. I'll probably going to be playing one game, probably just for the sake of it, because,
You're there.
I'm the face of it. Might as well roll some dice. And hopefully I get paired with the same guy from last year, and it's good for me.
What army do you play?
I'm a Dark Angel guy.
Okay.
That's the big thing. I like my Dark Angels, but I also have a full crew force now.
Hey.
So I can do some towels, I guess.
That's the only towel I like. It's crazy.
And I have also a lot of Gene Stealer cult dudes that are built. A few Astra Militron, but like if I had to play, I would say it's either going to be Croots if I have time to paint them after my trip coming up in Portugal now with my wife. We're leaving next week. So after the trip, I'll focus on finishing the bases for the charity army. Obviously, finish my aspect of it, which is I have a squad of just regular dudes. I didn't want to give that to like a Golden Demon winner guy. Like I want you guys to do the fancy stuff. Like I want you guys to do,
the big ones, the big centerpieces,
right? Yeah. Like James Craig did like a cool Weavern, but obviously he always mod this stuff. So he did like the 3D printed plumes flares on the thing. It looks outstanding.
Cool.
So I gave like the super talented dude like the bigger pieces and whatnot, and I kept like the shit stuff because I'm like,
oh,
whatever. I still like.
I saw your deck.
They're like they're army guys.
I saw it.
I mean,
I see your Instagram page. Like I see it.
Thanks. I mean, they're an army, right? They're typical army guys. So I'm like being an army guy. I'm like, I'll paint troops. I don't care. I like grunts. I was a grunt. Let's do it. I'm always a grunt. Let's do it. So I'll get that to finish. I did obviously the test model and another one to show the guys, but now I have to finish the 8 other ones. So I'll do that in August, I guess. And after that, it's just like social media, podcasts. I have a podcast lined up with Trident Wargaming in Edmonton.
Yeah.
Fire for a Fact, which is an army guy.
Yeah.
And then obviously last year we had the news there. Obviously this year we got the news again.
Yeah.
So we have our little 30 seconds of glory there on the 5 o'clock news. That just show more awareness to the event, right? At the end of the day.
And where can they find them? Where can they buy these tickets?
So the thing is, like, the concept is that we as a group, like the 25 some talented artists, we paint a 2,000 point army, and that army is raffled at the end of the event. Every $5 you donate to Heads Up Guys, we'll give you one ticket to win either the main prize or a slew of all the other prizes that we have. We have a lot going on right now. Like Fenris gave like a base starter kit for Procryl, which is my main brand. Like I love Procryl. Like Monument Hobby, like they're fantastic paint. So he donated that plus a set of my favorite brushes from Rosemary & Co. And like I said, we have all these like Chronicle cards thing. Couple guys painted side projects. It's not part of the army, but there's still like cool prizes. So they go to crowdfund, like you can put the link in the website. It's through crowdfunding UBC, obviously, because they're the one managing all the money. Because last thing I wanted was people to like, who's this GP guy? What is this 40 hours 40K?
Yeah,
why am I donating money to this guy? That way, with hitching a wagon to Heads Up Guys, they take care of all the money. They're the one issuing you tax receipts. They're the one mailing you all that stuff. And at the end of the fundraising period, which is at the end, like August, September 9th, they send me a list of all the donation. And let's say you donate like $100, cash $100. Like, okay, I put that in the little software. You have 100 tickets. Or 50 tickets or whatever. Like I'm not good at math. Whatever $100 gives you for tickets, right? So it gives you 20 tickets. There you go. So you have 20 tickets. 20 tickets to win anything. In that thing. Obviously, a lot of guys won. Like last year, the Orc Army was actually won by a local player that is a nationally ranked Orc player. So that was amazing because he brought that army to LVO. So as far as it was like prime and center, and hopefully he told people that was like a charity army for 40 hours 40K. I don't know if he did or not. Crookshank, like, get back to me on that if you listen to this.
Crookshank one.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Like Tom? Or his brother?
His brother, I believe.
Okay. Yeah.
So yeah, he's the guy that won. Amazing. I'm glad because he stayed home. It's an actual art player. I know he's gonna take good care of it. I know he's gonna travel with it, which is fantastic. So crowdsource funding 40 hours 40K through UBC. We have promotional posters in most FLGS in Edmonton.
Yep.
You have some at your bar.
Yep.
If people scan the QR code, it sends you straight to the donation page for UBC. It gets you a nice little like blurb about like why I'm doing this, like who I am, like how I started this, like the whole link to the UK charity. And the UK run their event at the same time of us, which is kind of cool because this year we'll have a very strong Twitch presence, where when it's the day for them and it's night for us, it's slow for us, so we'll just give them the Twitch screen, and then when it's daytime for us and it's nighttime for them, it's a bit slower, we get the Twitch screening on our sides. And Chaps has the table that does the whole, dice tray camera. Like,
they got that.
Yeah, they have the whole setup for like, and then we'll have like dudes actually doing battle raps for the main table.
Cool.
This year, we want this to be legit. We want this to be like be in the middle, join the chat, interact with the chat, and like be part of this. And maybe we'll do some, like some drawing prizes for the guys in the chat. When I wanted to make this as inclusive and as like interactive as possible.
And for all those viewers who can't make this event, like you can just get it on Twitch. Maybe you can win some. Donate this. This is all going to a good cause.
It is all going to a good cause. It's all legit. It's a registered charity. Hopefully, we will become one of those eventually. Like I'm having a really good meeting next week with some high-level player in the foundation charity sphere in Edmonton. This lady, Diane Buchanan, used to be part owner of the Oilers team, runs the Parkinson Buchanan Center in Edmonton. Her husband sadly passed from Parkinson. So she's all about helping military, first responders and whatnot. So I'm having a meeting with her next week to talk about what is the likeliness of us being able to do and become a fully registered charity that we can do that umbrella foundation kind of thing. And
JP, this is amazing. And like you said, I think we were talking previously, it starts from somewhere and someone doing this, right? And digging these small steps, shavings make piles. Like you have to start making these small steps to get to this part where you got to dream big, but once you can get there, like, and look at all the help that you've already gotten. This is year 2.
Yeah.
This is year 2,
exactly.
man.
It's mental. The amount of supports that we're getting now. And then like one of my former army buddy, Lee Morey, he runs the military police funds for the blind children, which is the only charity that the army supports outside of like Soldier On or whatever.
Oh.
So he's been raising money for these guys for a few years now, but he usually raised like $40,000 a year for that thing.
That's amazing.
So like last year was 10 grand. Like this year we're shooting for 15, but if we can do 20, the better, right? The better. Like obviously the better. And we're trying to get obviously Brad Newell back this year if he wants to come over. Brad, if you hear this, by all means, come by. And then maybe Dr. John, which is the guy that heads up guy. He's the doctor of the Faculty of Medicine in UBC, and I would like to get him to come over as a keynote speaker to talk about like why this hobby in particular goes so well with mental health. Because you said before, like when you do this, you're clear of mind. You're like, you don't think about your problem. You're just happy to paint your little plastic soldiers. And I know it sounds childish and like ridiculous at times as grown-up adults doing that, but there's definitely a therapeutic aspect of this.
100%.
Art in general, and that is a form of art.
Oh, 100%.
And obviously like a brotherhood, like a camaraderie kind of thing with attorneys and whatnot. Like you mentioned, you're more of a competent player. I'm not, but I've met so many good artists through this. They're now relying on me. I'm relying on them. We're helping out each other.
Building a community.
I'm all about that. I've always been, I was in the Army for 23 years. The community is huge. And I lost that when I got out. And the hobby gave it back to me tenfold. Without any of the BS.
Yeah. Well, there's always other stuff, but
there's always other stuff.
Yeah, there's always other stuff, but I mean, like, look at the people that you meet, and like you said before, like you're meeting these like-minded people that are down to earth and salt of the earth, and you can relate to. Like, yeah, we can hang out, but you know what? I'll tell everyone right here. Like, we hung out for an hour before this, and we barely talked Warhammer.
No, we were talking about everything but that.
We were just talking everything but Warhammer, but that's what brought us together was Warhammer.
Yes. Yeah, Warhammer does bring a lot of people together, and some of my best of friends now are dudes that I met through the hobby.
Yeah.
After my military life.
Yeah.
Of course, I am still in contact with my closest mates, like the guys that I actually, you know, brush shoulders in really dark situation, like overseas, Afghanistan and whatnot. But now, like the guys that I do chat with on a daily basis, they're all nerds. They're all my hobby buddies.
Yeah.
You know, like, yeah, I'm in Edmonton. Yeah, you're in Calgary. But now that I know that this is your bar and this is like, every time we come to Calgary, we'll come say hi. Obviously, it's the right thing to do.
Yeah.
You know, and I know if you come to Edmonton,
I would not be in Edmonton. I would not ever text you. Like, it's just not the way it works.
Right. So, and then Mark, same thing. Like Mark, when he was in St. Albert, he messaged me, he was like, "Hey, dude, if you have time, come." I didn't have time to do it this time because there was a lot going on. Like one of my really good friends was getting out from the police force, like EPS, and then also the army. So it was a big like a mug out for him. So that night was busy. So I couldn't break out and go there. But it happens, right?
Yeah, sure.
But I mean, we chat all the time.
Yeah.
Like Mark, like he's a big help. Like he's a super talented painter. I have a lot of time for him. I obviously want him to get involved more with us and bring his homies in the fold. Like I know there's a few Golden Demon winners in Calgary. Let's bring them to the fold. Like even if it's just paint like one model, I don't care. I just want their skills to be added to this already amazing slew of artists that we have accumulated this year.
Well, that's the thing with the skills. It is art, but it should be shared amongst the world.
Absolutely. Like, you know, I'm not one of those guys like, oh, you know, sometimes you reach out to like the bigger accounts on Instagram. It's like, hey, what's your recipe for that? So, oh, well, it's on Patreon. Pay if you want it. I'm like,
yeah.
Okay, I get it. This is your job. I'm not that guy. I'll give my knowledge for free all day, every day. Yeah, maybe one day I'll do a Patreon, but it's not going to be to make money. It's just going to be to sell the way I paint. I have my own unique style. Yeah. Obviously, Bobby Clark has his own style.
And it supports supplies too and stuff like that. Like that stuff is expensive, so.
Yes, and then like these are the things that I use that I love. Like for example, like a couple of years ago, I did like a Secret Santa with a bunch of guys at a local game store. And I'm like, I pick a dude and I'm like, I don't really know him. I don't really know what he's doing. Like, you know, I'm going to give him products that I use every day that I think are amazing. Yeah. For example, like Scale 75s, they're metallic colors.
Okay.
Some of the best colors I've ever used. Like, I'm not a non-metallic metal kind of guy because I cannot monetize that. Because the amount of time it takes me to do like a full-on non-metallic metal armor, I will have to charge the guy like $1,000 for like one model because it takes so much time.
It does,
Yeah, but if you want to be a guy like Flame On Miniature, like this guy is the king of freaking non-metallic metal. He even got like a signature series with Pro Acryl 6 paint that he uses all the time that he designed just to do.
I've seen that actually. I've seen that set.
Fantastic, fantastic lineup paints. I love all the signature series like Rogue Hobbies, like obviously Ninjon, Vince Venturella's. These are all the big dudes in the States and the dudettes in the UK. Yeah. Right? So whatever they're using, I want to use that. So I'm all about sharing what works for me. If it doesn't work for you,
well, there's a slew of other products.
There you go, bud.
Yeah, like you just go with that, right?
World's your oyster. Have fun. This is what I use. This is what I love. So that's what I did for that guy.
I've been getting more into AK lately.
You know what? That's the thing. When I went to LVO, I took a class from Andy Wardle. Again, big shout out to you, my bud. Like, I love this guy. Like, I didn't know he was so short. It was funny. Aaron Lovejoy, another big Golden Demon guy in the States. I took a class from him one day, and we became really good buds. And I was like, hey, you coming to LVO last year? He's like, no, I'm not. I'm going to be at Adapticon. I was like, it's too bad. I'm taking a class with Andy. He's like, give him a big hug for me. He's like, will do. And I meet Andy, and Andy is like 5 foot nothing. He's a really short dude. But he's jacked. He's like a guy who owns a gym and whatnot in the UK. And I was like, hey, man, Aaron says hi, and he said I should give you a big hug. I said, you mind? He's like, nope. So there I am in LVO. I have a big picture, and I'm like bear hogging the hell out of like in his feet. I was like not much off the ground. And he's like,
I think you showed me that picture.
He's just like taking it. It's like, yeah, that's my lot in life. What can I say? But Andy is a big AK guy, and part of his package was the mini and all the paint and the wet palette and whatnot, and it was all AK products. Yeah. And fantastic paint. Obviously, I kept those. They're great. I really like it. And my Matt Cockrell, my coach that I had for the first 2 years in the UK, big fan of AK. Yeah, I think so I bought a lot of the specific that he likes.
They're red wine, dark red, and ice yellow. Those are like the three kind of like... can kind of go with almost any tone you want them to, 100%. And then set the tone that you want.
100%. Yeah, they're really good. Those are all colors that I have. Yeah, because the ice yellow is one of the best things to do, like the OSL thing. to make your orange pop and whatnot.
Yeah,
you don't do
well,
white.
and hey, Vallejo blue green. Don't forget about that one.
No, you can't
the
forget about
mythical
that.
blue green.
Yeah. Like a big fan of Vallejo as well, especially since they rebranded. Their speed paints are kind of decent.
Yeah, they're decent. Yeah, I like them.
I mean, if you don't like the pots from contrast paint from G-Dub, next best thing is this.
Yeah, I still buy some G-Dub products just because I trust the
tone. I like their contrast paint.
Yeah,
they're reliable.
Yeah, and I just trust what they're doing.
Yes.
The one thing I actually got away from was Army Painter, and not because they're bad. It's because the design of the bottle. Well, when you're squeezing out the paint, the lid will pop off and all the paint will come out. And it happened to me a few times that I kind of stopped buying because I was wasting all this paint.
I mean, to be fair, like Army Painter for the longest time were subpar, and they knew that. They listened to us, and their new Fanatic paint that they just released this year, it's a game changer.
Okay.
I'm not saying that they're not like rocking the industry's world like Procreal did when they came into the industry, but now they're like with the boys. Yeah. They're I want to say if they're not par with AK and Scale when it comes to their metallics and whatnot. It's pretty close.
And they're, I think they're a big sponsor of Vanguard Tactics too.
Big.
Yeah.
But you know what? Army Painters, to their defense, they're a big advocate for the community. Like I didn't have time to reach out to them this year, but I know for a fact that if I reach out to them next year and I ask them to do something for us, they'll send us stuff.
I know they will. Before. Yeah.
I know they will. Because Procreal, I mean, I did ask Procreal. I'm one of their. I have an affiliate program with them, but they have this form, and I did fill the form. Never heard back from them, but it's okay because Fenris carries Procreal, and they gave us a set.
So there you go.
We have
and Procreal. So that's number one for you.
Yes. Yeah. And then Duncan's. I'm a big fanboy of Duncan's. I met him at LVO. The guy is just a gem. Him and his buddy, like I forgot his name, Bob, I think. Not sure. Maybe fact check me there, whoever's listening. But him and his partner, down to earth, same thing. Like super good dudes. You know, Duncan was the face of GW for like a decade or two.
Right.
He started working there when he was like not even 20 years old, I think. And he was part of the design team. He created a lot of the skull for the things that we love the most. And then him branching out and doing tooth and coats. I was first in line to support their Kickstarter for the first wave. I did the second wave, and now I'm waiting for the third wave because they are 100% almost compatible with GW.
Okay.
They have the chart. So if you like Rhinoxide, they have their Rhinoxide.
Yeah, they have the comparable charts.
Yeah,
right?
Like, if you like, I'm a big fan of Rhinoxide, big fan of Waterfucking Brown. These are what I use for my letters, my letter usually, and they have like the exact similar recipe. So it's easy for me to move away from those horrible pots. I'm more of a dropper bottle kind of guy.
Me too. So, well, now I am. I'm slowly getting in that way, right? You still got some in the pots, right? So you kind of want to use all your paints.
Of course, I'm not going to... Like, I did get rid of most of my G-Dub paint. I just sold them on Facebook Market to, like, a fellow hobbyist, and they were happy to get a good deal on them. But I still buy their Incubi Darkness, Dark Reaper. Rhinoxide. Like these guys, they're so good.
I like Agriculture Shade too. I like that one too.
Yeah,
that one's
absolutely.
a really good one. Newland Oil, I don't buy any more from them.
No, I don't either. I like the wash for Procreal Black that does the exact same thing.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of Sepia. I'm a big fan of the Rakeland Flesh.
Yeah.
Really good. Rakeland Flesh is
my Flesh is good too.
It's my secret weapons for gold.
Yeah.
That's
gold.
And again, like same thing.
You gotta give it that red tone.
These are the guys that gave me, like the 40 hours 40K guys are the one that gave me that recipe when we did the 1,000 Suns on my second year. So first year with the Necron, second year with the 1,000 Suns that I was involved with anyways. And then last year with the Death Guard, which you're a big fan of, and it turned out really well. This year it's World Eaters. I did a Demon Prince for them this year, which I feel like I graduated. In the first few years, I was doing like just line troops because I was not that good of a painter. I was okay. I was the world OKS painter. But now I'm a bit better, and now they gave me like a bigger model, and I was pretty proud of that. It turned out really well. It's probably one of my best pieces I've painted so far. And it's going to the UK like next week. I'm shipping it to them with a couple like care packages from Canada, like maple syrup, maple candies and stuff.
Sure.
I brought that when I was there on my
you
trip.
should have wrapped him in a red flannel shirt or something.
Oh yeah, right. That's a good idea, actually. I might give him a flannel shirt.
Yeah,
like, hey,
why not, right?
Canada, eh?
Hey.
You can make fun of us there. So that was really cool. Last year we did orcs. This year we're doing guards, which obviously being Army, special place in my heart. What I've got so far from all the guys, I think we were at 90% of the Army back to me at the studio, so I can finish the basing of all the dudes, and it looked absolutely freaking fabulous. Like I'm not saying this because those are my guys and they did this for me and for the UK, for the Canadian charity. It is amazing. Whoever wins that Army, it is sexy.
Oh,
I don't want to hype it. Like I don't need to hype it. Your eyes will know. It is stupid good. I'm excited.
I saw some pictures. They look fantastic. And do you know what? Do you have any pictures posted anywhere? Or?
Yes. So obviously, Garviel.studio on Instagram is my studio account, and 40 hours of 40K. So 40 hours of 40K _ Canada is our studio. Sorry, the charity account specific for the UK, for the Canadian charity. And when all the bases are finished, I'll do like the whole like sexy photo shoot with effects and whatnot, and start just flooding. So I'm doing that next week.
Okay.
Because I want to be able to do all the photos before I go to Portugal, and then just do like a time release dump on Instagram.
Well, and then all these links will be in the description of after this video is out.
Yes, please.
You'll see all that. You'll see his Instagram. You'll see the link to the 40K, 40 hours and 40K.
Yeah, and then Fenris Workshop right now is working on because I bought the domain for 40hoursfortyk.ca.
Okay.
So it's ours now. I bought that, and Fenris, Gabriel, being like a graphic design by trade, will do the whole website to make it like super legit, cool. So that people can go to it and really explain what we are, what we stand for, why we're doing this, and how you guys can help support the cause.
This is amazing.
It feels pretty good. I'm not gonna lie. Like, getting out of the Army, like I was always like a mission-oriented kind of guy, and when I got out, one of the big things that really affected me is like I don't have a purpose anymore. I don't have a mission.
You're saving people's lives, man.
What's my mission now? Yeah, my mission is raising money, connecting like-minded people that want to make this great, and then run with it and see if we can go to the moon.
Yeah.
Kind of deal. Like, because one year I'd like to be able to say, you know what, this year we raised $50,000, and it's going to help first responders and like military in a meaningful way.
It takes a village to get these things done, and
buddy, you tell me.
If we didn't have people like you out there doing it,
and then if I didn't have people like you giving me a platform to talk about that, I wouldn't be able to do it either.
Well, that's why it takes a village, right?
Yes.
That's why we're here to do it together.
Agreed.
And I'm all about this. I'm some side of me too. I was a volunteer firefighter for many years too.
There you go. So you understand the community aspect of things. You understand like the damage that some of our like these cool job that we take as men and women has on us physically and mentally and with the family and whatnot.
Yeah.
And then that's what Brad Newell acknowledged when he came to the event. He was with us for like 24 hours. The guy is no spring chicken no more. No offense, Brad, but like you've been around for a while, and he stayed with us for 24 hours. Like he stood just pushing through it. And he was talking to everybody. And he came to me at the end of the event, and he said, "JP, there's a lot of these guys that are here, guys and gals. That's all they have when it comes to their social aspect of things. Yeah. Not everybody is outgoing like we are. Not everybody wants to be on camera. Mm-hmm. Not everybody wants to be like, or has the skills to make friends easily. Mm-hmm. But that hobby gives that aspect to everybody. Yeah. To be making friends and find like I said before, and I know I feel like I'm beating a dead horse here, but like find like-minded people that you want to. After the game is done, can we go for a beer? Yeah. I'd like to hear more about this. Yeah. Like you said, I was here for like an hour before this. Yeah. We talk about nothing but we thought about nothing but Warhammer.
Oh man, there's tournaments I go to
just
too.
Like,
we just
how was your stampede? How's this? What's going on? Where are you going next? What's this? What's that? And that to me is priceless. It is priceless.
Well, thank you, JP, and thanks for coming on. I think we are at an hour and some now.
Wow.
Yeah,
crazy.
It passed by
Dude,
so fast,
I can't believe
man.
how fast it went by.
I can't believe it either, and I can't thank you enough for coming on here, just sharing your passion, and using your passion for this stuff to actually share it with the world and save people. So thank you.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thank you for having me.
Of course, man.
I'll come back if you want later on. If it's a thing, we can go like after the event. I can come back to Calgary, kind of do a wrap up of how it went, what we raised.
We'll see. You know what? Like, we'll see what's going on. Maybe we can get up there and we can do a live show there too, man. Like, maybe we can do some cool things.
Oh, that'd be cool.
Right? Like,
actually.
we'll go right on Instagram and we'll just do like live right there.
Like one last thing before we quit. Like, remember Warhammer? These were guys from Calgary, right? So last year I ended up doing a podcast with him. He lives in Panama now, one of them. Mm-hmm. And we did a podcast last year to talk about that. And he said, he bought an island. And an Airbnb on an island. Now he's like, he raised chicken and does his freaking Warhammer, and his wife works from remote. What a life. He's like, dude, come visit us. You can stay at the B&B and let's do a podcast on the beach rolling dice. Like, oh, hell yeah.
Yeah.
Let's suffice it to say, it was an easy sell to my wife. Oh, it's just like, I'm all about Warhammer now. I love this stuff. It's like, yeah, because we're going to Panama.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't know we could be here for Warhammer.
And then it's going to be business.
It's not just toy soldiers.
No, it's going to be a business trip because we're going to be talking about the charity. Like, so
100%.
It's so easy to justify this thing.
Absolutely.
Same with LVO. She came with me at LVO. I'm like, hey, I'm going to be working, quote unquote. I'm doing class, but you can bring my buddy Steve and Cheryl, and then you guys can do like sightseeing stuff during the day. I'll meet you guys at night, and then I'll be happy and picking shit. She's like, done. Yeah. And it was amazing.
Yeah, it's easy. And so, hey guys, if you do want to go reach it to him, you can DM him. I know I'm giving it away, but you DM him on Instagram. He's very receptive. That's how we we connected in person, but we started talking on Instagram first, I think.
Right away. And we changed phone numbers and then started texting, and now we're homies.
Yeah, now we're homies, and that's how it happens. But reach out if this is, if you guys want to make it. If you can make it out to this weekend, please do. It goes to a good cause. Reach out to him if you can't get the links or anything that's happening.
Reach out to you.
Reach out to me. I'll push it towards the right path. And
you have the posters at the bar too. If people want to come by the bar, have a nice beer, some good food, scan the QR codes, and next thing you know, you're helping us.
And then we're all in Edmonton together, hanging out, rolling dice.
Yes.
Well, thanks again, guys, for listening, and please, as always, like, subscribe if you can. It doesn't. It goes a long way with the channel. It keeps the lights on here, and really shows us what you guys want to see and how we can keep going. Okay. Thanks again.